In this episode of Sympa Says, Ana-Gabriela Hernandez shares her career journey from her interests in technology and music to her role as a security specialist at Microsoft.
One of my uncles, he used to play with devices. He was opening one of them, and I saw, insides of that box, and I was amazed. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I want to do something that is the same like this, right? So
she highlights education, networking, relocating challenges from Mexico to Australia, and emphasizes passion, personal values, and offers advice for aspiring tech professionals.
So at least have the foundation of one of them in your triangle, so the other two are moving forward in a successful way.
Become part of our community by watching or listening and subscribing or following to Sympa Says. I love that countdown timer. It's great. Okay. Gabby, welcome to Sympa Says. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm going to before we kick off, this is supposed to be about careers, but they've tended to go off a little bit. So your current role, you do work at Microsoft, you work occasionally with me, and your current role is a security specialist in Global Black Belt. Now we'll come back to that and how you got to that as part of the entire interview today. But let me take you back to when you were in school. Could be high school, could be even earlier than that. I had someone the other day in one of my other interviews telling me when they were 5 years old, when they first started thinking about their initial career, what did you want to do when you grew up, essentially? When was the first time you thought, okay, I want to do that, and what was it?
I think I can relate to a couple of moments. So one was really earlier on. One of my uncles, he used to play with devices. He always had something, device new. And he was opening one of them. And I saw, like with him, working with him, and the insides of that box. And I was amazed. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to do something that is the same like this, right? So that could have, of course, mean many, many different things. But I knew for sure I wanted to do something related to technology. I was, I guess, like, 5, 7 years old, maybe. Yeah, very young. And then as I was also like growing up, continuing with the story, and during school, I was already aligned into maths, like that line of study, but I wasn't really sure like what I wanted to specialize on. At that moment, I also knew I love music a lot. I was actually playing in bands with, teenager stuff. So I wanted to do something music related. I thought that aligning music and technology, I was thinking at that time to become an audio engineer. So for sure, I said, I need to study something engineer background that gives me, open the door to that next phase. Of course, that next phase didn't become the audio engineering, as you can tell, but that was the foundation at that time, where I knew it was something technology related and something that, relates to be in front of a console and doing, I was saying like doing magic, right? Like you are behind these devices and there's so endless possibilities. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So that led you, I guess that probably led to you, if we look at your education, and let me see if I get this right. So was it Universidad Tecnológica de México?
Yes.
So I did pretty well there.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah, perfectly fine. That's I think, but the extent of my, not Mexican, my extent of my Spanish is, I'm a foster carer, and one of my foster kids the mother was from Peru, so I think the extent was, ¿Cómo estás?
Bien.
Yeah. And exactly. I've forgotten the rest of it. So you did a Bachelor of Electronics and Telecommunications Engineering. Did that give you the skills that sort of led you getting into IT, or was that more one of those more broad-based educations that allowed you to sort of choose different paths?
I think it was like the brother of like you have like different areas where you can specialize on for that degree I got. Many of my mates at that time ended up working for more like engineering, technology engineering, like, industry type of like robotics and those kind of things. So that was also an option. Some others, they went into more like telco, like more like telco networking and everything that's happening today, like mobile devices or all of those things. For me, I guess because that was like the common ground when I started to do like internships, having that knowledge allowed me or opened the door for me to come into the Microsoft world earlier on. So there was a program for students to come and learn and certify in Microsoft, certifications like from
Okay.
earlier on engineering. How was the name? I forgot the name. The Microsoft Certified Engineer, I think it was.
Yeah. I remember
Yeah,
there used to be different
yeah.
MCP, NCE.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's how it started because I had that requirement already. So I was in technology. I knew the foundation for that. So they allowed me the access to that program. And that's how I started. Instead of going on the path that I was thinking, I started to get more into this software industry and earlier on with Microsoft.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is cool. And your first role outside of university was a Windows Infrastructure Operations and Project Lead at EDS Corporation in Mexico City.
Yes.
Was that something that you got from college, university, straight out of there, or was it just a job that you applied for post that?
It was, I think, as I was rolling from starting as a trainer. So first, this program allowed me to become a trainer.
Okay.
Then it's one of those situations where one thing leads to the other. So I had the opportunity to join as well as, kind of like internship into this industry that was already working with EDS at that time. So this company allowed me to get the foot on the door with EDS. So there was a moment that EDS came to the table and I guess absorbed this line of work, like this. It was basically all the operations, all the Windows operations for this large industry back in Mexico. It's the largest bakery, I think, in the world.
Okay.
And so EDS got the operation for that. And that's how I went,
Oh,
as part of it. So, yeah, I guess it was all like one thing tied to the next and to the next one. That was, of course, a very amazing experience. I learned a lot. And of course, being in front of operations, like to see the real situation when something is broken and you have to really like come on and turn it on and no one's leaving the building until we fix this situation.
yeah. That's
It was really, really good for me and my career for sure.
yeah. There's some of the I think there's some of the key moments in anyone's career. Those moments when there's a lot of critical issues and you've got to try and solve a lot of problem solving needed on the fly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So did that then, and just looking at your career trajectory from there, you then basically went from there after 3 years. You obviously then found an opportunity at Microsoft. Tell me about how did that come about for you? Like how did the opportunity to join Microsoft come about for you?
Okay. I actually applied for Microsoft a couple of times. I knew already people that I studied with or people I was working with in the previous place, not in EDS, but when we all became like trainers, it was a group of us that we were kind of like following the same career and the same steps. And I was blessed that they were also best friends. So we were like kind of like not leading the way of the other, but like knowing when something was happening, right? So um, one of them told me there's an opportunity. They are opening, positions, and of course, as nervous as you can get and as unprepared as you can be, because those things happen just, one moment to the other. So I went and I applied, and I actually went all around, almost to final stages. I understand for the feedback I got that at that time it was between another person and me. I didn't get it. Of course, I was very, very disappointed and very, very sad. Then 1 year passed, and then I got another opportunity. So this time, another friend as well told me there's an opportunity, a position is coming, be ready, right? So I did the best I could to prepare myself and, for interviews and it could be any, like, it's not just about your knowledge or about technology, it's everything. Your culture, your personality, your way to approach things, all of that. So this time, of course, I was a lucky one and really, really happy, of course, with the outcome. But yeah, it took not just the year in between, but also the interview process. I think it took something around 3 months for me at that time.
Okay.
And I was already immersed in a very large project with EDS, back and forward to another city in major city in Mexico, which is called Monterrey.
Mm-hmm.
So I was traveling a lot and I was like, very immersed in that project. So I was interviewing while the project was actually migrating a data center at that time. So it was full on, but it was really good. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it's persistence and also who you know sometimes as well, right?
Yeah, I think I don't know if as we are young, we sometimes don't believe that networking is key, right? And we tend to think like everything's gonna be solved by itself. But reality is that networking is very important, and not just as you are starting your career, but during the whole of your career. I think it's important that we are aware of that, and we keep, of course, very good relations with the people we feel like we have something similar or something in common.
Yeah, definitely. So if we look at the roles that you've had, and you've been at Microsoft, geez, mate, you've been longer than I have. It's almost 20 years now. Wow,
It's
that's
gonna be
awesome.
20 years this year.
Wow,
Yes.
that's fantastic. So you started off as identity and access product technical specialist. So was that actually the first role that you had?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the first one.
So do you feel some of the skills that you gained at EDS and even when you were practicing to be a trainer helped you sort of solidify and get that role?
Absolutely. I think what I learned from the trainer time was, of course, the ability to self-train, to not be afraid of a search for the information, read it, immerse on it, and find a way to, try it and test it. And I think that was key. And that's something I still do today. So it's a skill that I think is one of the ones that I feel more like blessed about, that I learned earlier on. And for what I got in EDS, I think it's all the operations background, which is still related to, every time that I'm in front of a customer. And that role was to be in front of a customer and to talk about those solutions in order to understand the pain, in order to translate that into the technology that's required and see if it's a good fit for the customer. That's all the background that I was able to get in that operations role, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. So moving from there, you're in that role for just over a year, and then, as people do at Microsoft, move roles. It tends to not happen. You moved into a security technology solutions professional, which I think that would be the old pre-sales roles, wasn't it? The TSP roles. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, we still have those roles, but the role has evolved in itself, for sure. Yeah.
So you did that for around 4 years in Mexico, and then you moved to this beautiful country, which is Australia.
Which we love,
So
yes.
tell me, what was and I've talked to a few people about, and quite a few people who've moved countries and for various reasons, some for adventure, some because it was a career choice, and then they moved back home. But for you, you're still in Australia. You're Aussie now.
I am.
And what were you thinking at the time? Was it just a career choice that then you just fell in love with the country afterwards? Take me through what you initially thought and then what you did to help your opportunity to actually move to Australia.
Okay. At that time, I knew I wanted to have experience to work in a different country. I saw some of my friends, Microsoft friends, the ones that we joined almost at the same time, they started to move. And I saw them all excited and all shiny and all like, really enjoying the experience. And I was like, I wanna, feel like that. I wanna have that experience. Of course, we didn't know at that time if it was gonna be permanent or not. They didn't as well. Most of them started to follow the normal path that you would follow in Microsoft, which is relocate to Corp, so seeking for opportunities in Seattle. So yeah, as I saw them doing that, I was thinking like maybe not too much Seattle, but I was thinking just outside. And maybe at that time I was thinking in Canada. I was even learning French because I wanted to relocate to Montreal. It was just ideas. I just wanted to have the foundation and the skills ready to go in case the opportunity came. So what happened in between is that I met one of our Aussie colleagues back in one of those big events in Seattle. And he told me that, well, actually before that, I met him and we were talking about what's the life in Australia. Tell me more about how is it like in general, how is it there? And he was also shining as he was, narrating like life in Australia is this amazing. So I said to him, if there's an opportunity and if you know about positions, please let me know. And that's it. Another year passed in between. And then as I was preparing as well, like just, being open to those ideas, we met at the next year in another event. And then he told me about, there's a position coming, you should apply. And that's how I did it. So I applied straight away. It took a while as well. That time, of course, I was very nervous because I knew it was going to be a life-changing opportunity. And it wasn't like something I was used to. Of course, not as at that time, of course, I was not even interviewing in another language. So it was many things happening at the same time. So preparing for the interview, preparing in a different language and in a culture that I wasn't really familiar with. So it was a lot going on. Again, I was, of course, the lucky one. And as I arrived here, I was thinking, this is an opportunity to get immersed for a couple of years. Actually, everyone back home, they were telling me, we will take this as if you are doing a master's degree, like you are disappearing for 2 years and then you are going to be back. So that's how everyone related. For a while as well, I was thinking like, after Australia, maybe this time I'm going to go back and move closer to Mexico, maybe Seattle, maybe Canada. But no, I fell in love with Australia, and little by little, of course, it grew up on me, and I really saw everything that at that time that person was telling me. And yeah, the 2 years became 3, 4, and then it was like, maybe it's time to think about becoming Aussie. And yeah, that's what we did. And yeah, we actually bought a property here as well. So fully immersed here and really loving the experience. So
a career choice ended up becoming a life choice, essentially.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, after like 3 years, my sister also, she was like, I want to see how beautiful it is because you tell me so much about it. So she came to visit and she stayed, and now she also has a family. Yeah, so life-changing for me and my family, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. And funnily enough, you actually joined you came to Australia from the looks of it. That must have been a couple of months before I started at Microsoft, which is cool. There you
Very
go.
Cool.
Coincidence. There's a coincidence there. There you go. I'm not saying I was the reason why you stayed in Australia because of the amazing human that I am.
Oh, yes,
no,
because
no whatsoever.
When we met, I was like, oh, man, I want to be your friend forever. So I have to stay.
And we have been.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to unpack that a little bit because it's interesting. I've heard people talk about when they move roles, move countries, the importance of trying to reduce the amount of change. And you had a lot there, right? You had, okay, I've got to prepare in a language that's not native to me and learn it well enough. And for that, I mean, anyone who speaks more than one language can understand. So the example I give people is I can speak Greek. grew up. My parents were Greek immigrants. I was born in Australia. I'm English speaking native. But if you say to me, "Hey George, can you present or teach a class in Greek?" It's like, no. Can you go to an interview and explain technical concepts in Greek? The answer would be no. So for me, just hearing you say that is like, wow, that must have been a lot of work, a lot of time and dedication to do that. So that's definitely one change and stress point. But so if we unpack that, so you were going to move countries, which is an effort on its own. Learn a totally new culture, which again I think we accept is going to be something you do when you go to another country. Learn a language probably to a level that you haven't done before, where you have to also go to customers representing a large company like Microsoft. But at least from I understand it, you were at the very least in the same role that what you were doing, right?
Yes and no. I also changed technology. So
Okay.
similar role, but different line of work. No, different product, sorry. So I knew how to behave on the role, like the things that are expected from you, but I didn't know the technology at all.
Yeah.
It was new to me.
So would you say to someone who's thinking of doing that to not, I guess the words I would use is not have as many things to change. So either the language barrier, I don't think you can avoid. If you're going to change countries and you're going to go to a country that speaks another language, you're going to have to figure that one out. But would you suggest that if they're changing roles, would you suggest that they also change technology or stick with the same technology until you get used to all the other changes first?
I don't think you have to be afraid of doing it. I've seen during my career, and I also in my current role, if you are fit for the role, as for your skills, as for the way you are, personality alignment, if you are fit for the role, the technical knowledge will follow. I'm not saying do a complete, change, like go something crazy like you've never done. What I'm saying is the technology you can learn for sure. It's gonna take you maybe more effort for sure if you are going through the, I would say, stress, which is not a stress, but if you accept the change of the role itself, adding on top of that, the new technology, of course, is adding more. But I don't think you should be afraid of it. I've seen it many times. I also, one of my friends as well, changing role and technology as well, and she's doing amazing. So I think when I came here, someone told me it's hard, of course, when you change. You have to have like 3 foundations in your life, like a triangle, right? So your culture that you're familiar with, your language, because it's the way you express, is basically the way you are, and your family, which is your core, like the reason why you do the things you do every day. Try not to change 3 of them at the same time. So at least have the foundation of one of them in your triangle. So the other 2 are, moving forward in a successful way. So yeah, I think that's what I would say. In my case, I didn't know, of course. I changed the 3 of them at once. I didn't change my family, but I was really far away from my family.
Very
right?
far, yeah.
So, but looking back, anyway, they made me strong, even being far away from me. So talking with them all the time and like not breaking those links with them and with my friends, that helped me to go through what was happening in Australia at that time.
Yeah. That's cool. I've never heard of anyone talk about I guess, 3 key. What did you call them? 3 key pillars.
Yeah,
Or
it's like a triangle
values.
of your 3. Yeah, the 3 things that you should be aware all the time and try not to change them all at once.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
That's cool. That's actually a good way to think. Definitely keep you grounded. So, if we continue on in your journey in your career, your roles have changed. Probably for those looking at your experience, it's always been in technology when we look at it. So you've gone from the old what was called technical solutions professional to cloud infrastructure technology specialist, and for anyone external to Microsoft, that's the role. I think the role titles changed slightly, but the responsibilities and what you needed to do changed slightly over the last few years, and before then we'll get into the cloud solution architect and then how you got into global black belt. So you and I are brother sister in the global black belt world. It's actually cool knowing that you're like I say to people, one of the highlights of my career is that I was a global black belt. That
Yes,
was
for
it. It
sure.
just had a title that said global black belt. That was it. Were the things that changed over time more technology challenges, ramping up on things like that, and then responsibility of role more than anything else from a challenge perspective? So that people that look at your career path and maybe want to replicate it, do you feel like it's just sort of keeping up to date with things and then refocusing the areas that you need to work on?
Yes, in the world we live and the type of roles which are technical oriented, there's, I guess, this demand of being always updated, being always like aware of what's going on. So it's our responsibility to know what's happening and to back to the self training methodology. There's many times that we won't have the luxury of having, um, a formal training or a formal week of go and this is only for your learning and that's it. So I guess we have the responsibility to do that and to be always learning and always aware of in the technology world, whatever is the technology that we are following. In my case is security. Then yes, I think we have that responsibility. And of course, as we are growing in the role itself, the role is not static. The role is changing, and also I would say, seniority in the role is also growing. So in my case, of course, there's also an expectation of responding in a different way. So we could have the same role as someone that is just joining the company, but the expectation is that I have the experience of being in the company for this amount of time and also of being working in this line of work. So there's more expectations, meaning, of course, we have to respond in a different, more senior kind of approach. And yeah, is then the two things. So be always prepared and updated, aware of what's happening, and also be mindfully prepared for the type of situation that you are going to encounter, and then respond more like in that approach of, I don't know, timing, role, or experience that gives you.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think not just at Microsoft, I think at any company, when you move or you get promoted to a different level, there's extra responsibility expected of you, especially at Microsoft. You do have a much higher level. So you could do the same work as somebody who's junior. And when I say junior, it's not probably the right word. Someone who's not necessarily at the same level as you are. And again, I'm sure it's the same at other companies. And you won't do as well in that year as the other person. If they've done the same amount of work as you, they would be considered to have done well above what their expectations were. Pretty common, I think the word would be compensation model or HR model at a lot of companies, but definitely an expectation that when you get there at a higher level. Do you feel like that's helped you in the last couple of roles you've had? Obviously, I think CSA was just another rebrand of what the technology specialist was. But it's like if we rebrand every 5 seconds the names, but the responsibilities change slightly. But did that help you get or land the role that you are currently in, which is the security specialist at Global Black Belt?
Yes, I think everything helped, and I really love my time as a TSP, as a technology specialist, because that helped me to really understand from the ground not only my customers but also what's expected in this organization. Then, when moving into the CSA role, I saw a different angle because the requirements were different. It was more about be close to the deployment of the solution. So, and somehow it was kind of like back to my operations role, somehow, or at least that understanding was also helping me, right, in the CSA position. So, when I applied for this role, the current role that I am, I think what helped me a lot was the previous knowledge from the TSP plus the technology knowledge from the CSA role. In my time in the CSA role, I was doing more of the foundations that were required for my current role, which is knowing more about the security aspects of our solutions, particularly our cloud. So I needed to know that in order to apply. So that the CSA role gave me that, plus the DSP role gave me the knowledge of the org, how it operates, how it works. So putting the two things together gave me the foundation for this. So I don't think it's a linear process. I think all the experiences that we are collecting during our professional life, all of them help, and all of them are coming together at some point when you are thinking on applying maybe for your next role, for your next position. I actually remember clearly when I was also trying to join you in your organization, because that's something that's still, somehow in my heart. And I think is one of the options that is still there for me. So I would think like training background and all the technology knowledge I've accumulated would definitely be key assets if I think on applying in an organization like the one you are right now. So it's like everything combines.
Yeah, that's really well put together. All right, let me ask you a couple of more questions. The one thing I ask everybody, I used to say philosophy, but I think values is a better way to put it, that I tended to follow through in my career. So there's, I love helping people, so I always tend to lean more towards sort of educational type roles. There has to be a purpose to what I'm doing. If there's no purpose to what I'm doing, what am I doing there? I'd rather find another job or another role that has purpose. And there has to be some sort of passion there. If I don't, I think a good example I give people is I had the opportunity to continue in client management a long time ago, or go down the little new thing that was happening at the time called Azure that no one knew about. And I said, no, this is pretty interesting to me. There's so many different technologies I can learn here. And that was my passion at the time. So what would you say? You talked about a triangle of, I guess, triangle values, it would be the right word I would use. But what are the values you've sort of stuck with? Would you call those three the values that you've guided, that have guided your career?
I would think of them as pillars, but if I think about values for the career, I think first thing to me has to be, I have to have the ability to enjoy what I'm doing. So similar to you, the passion to me is like enjoy what I'm doing and feel motivated, like feel like there's something happening. We might be going through a phase that is hard and it's demanding a lot of me and is somehow maybe stressing me or stretching me out. But I have to see the enjoyment at the end. I have to see that this is going to resonate in a certain way. So I know that after I pass this, I'm going to feel excited and that sense of happiness, that sense of accomplishment. So that's, I think, one thing. Second thing is, it's like finding the flow, like finding your signature, and know that that signature is like your core motivation, like your deep root, like why are you doing this every day? And understand that, again, it's not linear. So it's gonna be flows. That's why I was telling you about the flow. So it means that maybe right now what's required from me is that I need to be like the strong, tough Gabby, but maybe tomorrow I need to be more like the team player Gabby, but keep, attached to your root, attached to that signature, but be fluent, be aware that it's flows in life, right? So the last thing I would say is, through that, understand that there's always someone watching you. And I don't want to say this as something that is like, oh, I see you, like, if you don't behave, it's going to be bad. No. What I mean is like, there's always someone watching you and you don't know, because if you are honest and if you are attached to your values and to your core, what you believe, the people that are observing you are going to be either motivated by you, or they are going to be like, I want that person in my team. because I see the passion, I see the spark, that person could be the one that's enabling you for the next move in your career. And you don't even know, but it's all back to your honesty and back to, I've been true to myself. I have my signature, and I've been, honest as I'm flowing in this.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. All right, so let's give you a couple of last questions. So give me a highlight of your career and a low light of your career, and then we'll get into the last one.
Okay, highlight, I would say 2. Of course, moving to Australia and being blessed with this role as joining to Microsoft Australia. And definitely right now, my current role to me is a super highlight. It's an organization I was looking from the distance long ago. I wanted to join, and I can, of course, now that I'm here, I feel so happy and I really enjoy this part of my life and my team and my activities. So really good for me right now. Low lights, I think there are many. I think the low lights are mostly when I'm not fully present or I haven't been fully present. And it could be because I'm going through a personal challenge. I can tell you that maybe it relates to, family losses or difficult, times in general. So as I'm not fully present, of course, the work keeps going, right? And if I'm distracted and not communicating in a proper way to my support networks, which in my work is my team, my managers and that, they will see it as lack of performance, right? So I remember this happened once back in Mexico, and I didn't communicate properly, and they were already like tagging me as low performer. So of course, after conversations with my manager and that, we could, restore the situation and everything was fine at the end. But yeah, I think it's all about not being fully present. But my learning was like, yes, life goes by, right? And we are all going to have challenges. So just, you don't have to communicate to the whole world. You don't have to post it on Instagram or anything. It's just about go and talk to your support network, at least make them aware that something is off and that you need maybe to collect yourself for a little while this situation passes.
Yeah, that's good advice. Speaking of advice, let's last question I'm going to ask you is, all right, if you could go back to yourself as a young girl, teenager, or there's someone listening out there or someone who's watched this who's got a kid in high school, even if there's someone in Mexico who says to themselves, maybe they think to themselves, I can't get a job at Microsoft for whatever reason. I mean, I don't think I ever thought I would. What advice would you give to your younger self or to someone who potentially is in a similar situation of how you grew up?
Yeah, I would say, first thing, find your signature. You might not know what line of, work or technology, or you might not know even your next phase, right? But find that things that makes you vibe and, that sparkle. Once that you find it, just hold it closely and have that as your anchor, because that anchor will help you for not to believe in monsters. What I call monsters is there's gonna be a lot of people telling you, you cannot, this is not for you. In my case, because women in IT, women in engineering, I had a lot of people telling me like, go and dedicate your life to be, become a family and that's it. So you don't have a place in the technology world. And that was, of course, scary. And there was like, why? I have a place here, and I know I have it. So, but of course, there were moments when I was feeling weak. Those monsters were telling me, no space for you. And I was, of course, feeling low. And the thing to hold back to your signature, to your, the thing that's gonna root you, that's what helped me to continue. So that would be my advice. Don't believe in monsters that tell you like you can't, because that's not true. It's just It's the insecurities of others projected into you. So don't let them pass, and just hold to your, what you believe, and you will progress and you will succeed.
That's awesome. Very well said, Gabby. Very well said. Okay, mate. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. Really appreciate you having you on the show, and I'm sure I'll see you in the office some point soon. For everyone else, thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Sympa Says. If you would like to see more videos, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Or follow if you are listening on a podcast platform to support the channel and join our community.